Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers of the South and thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Sunday, June 28th, 2020. So let us begin. Oh, hey folks, hopefully everyone's going well. Still nice and warm and hot, warm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, along in the park within the New River, not far from my place, which is all well and good. They're doing construction in the area, electrical related, so they'll probably be there all night. That is how it is. And of course, you got the building code enforcers around Fort Lauderdale trying to shut down bars and telling everyone how they'll wipe their rear ends as usual. They even can't take care of their own damn buildings. But remember, exceptionalism is good. And some people shrug. It's like, why shrug? If you're going to do that, have a ball and chain around your ankles and be locked up in shackles. Yes, I'm a slave to the system. I am a peasant. You don't understand the pressure I'm in. And they want to shut down the beaches for Independence Day weekend. So we should all do the hand on our heart and go, exceptionalism is patriotic. I will give up my freedom for security. Please tread on me, government. Amen. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Too many people out there. But who the hell cares? All these Orwellian slaps and snowflakes roaming around. They had a little Black Lives Matter rally right by Bouvier Park. And like I'll say it before, they're supporting a Marxist ideology funded by the technocrats. Yeah, they're pawns of the game, my friends. You are being played if you support this movement, like any other synthetic institution or entity. All right? Remember, too, there's a lot of claim that Karl Marx was a racist, and he sold his rear end to the Rothschilds. So, can we say, Hypocrisy 101? Yes, indeed. The Michael Moore syndrome, the Rosie O'Donnell effect. Yeah, you know how that goes. So, it looks like people are wearing their mask all around the county and the city and all that because they have to survive by an edict. But you know what? As long as some people have compromised health, it's good to do it to protect themselves. That's fine. But why should I be dictated? There's a big difference. So, volunteerism is great. But you try to conscript it, I'm calling you out. So, I'm going to do some stuff pertaining to American Free Press. And I got some interesting articles here. So, just to let you folks know, if you want to get the links and all that, it's all by subscription only. I believe it's $25 for the year. Digital delivery. So, pretty cool stuff, and they're very nonpartisan, and try to be open, so which is pretty neat. They're not owned by sugar daddies or anything like that. So I'm going to be looking at a few things here, and I see a few articles I'm going to check out, which is pretty damn neat. And we know what? We're going to start it off with media hate mongers, dishonest coverage of racism designed to instigate conflict. Yeah, they have a photo of one of my favorite race baiters, Al Sharpton. I think him and Richard Spencer should probably are undercover lovers. They both take warm bubble baths together and have him wear his towels. Yeah, I like to make fun of all these clowns. But this is what Mr. John Friend has to say about it. So, this is Mr. Friend, what he has to say about this. And, oh shoot, hold on here. Okay. Here's what he has to say. The mainstream mass media that coterie of dishonest and malicious outlets who President Donald Trump has powerfully characterized as the enemy of the people appears intent on inciting a race war, eliminating any form of dissent from the prevailing politically correct narrative. That's politically incorrect what you say. I'm an Orwellian snowflake or a tyrannical sap. That's right. And destroying the basic standards of symbols of traditional America. By and large, almost all major mass media outlets. One moment. What the hell's going on here? Yeah, I'm just trying to get this thing under control here. Excuse me, folks. Oh, that's the problem. Let me just see what I can do here. Boom, boom, boom. Oops, wrong one. Yeah, just like that. Nice. Okay, let me do one more thing here. Wait, I think I goofed up here. One moment. Boom. Alright, try to get this under control, my friends. So, by and large, almost all major mass media outlets, save perhaps Fox News, has provided cover and even worse justification for the riots, looting, vandalism, and other outrageous criminality sparked in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man with an extensive criminal background who died while being arrested in late May. The mass media's shockingly one-sided, stridently anti-white, anti-police, anti-law and order, and anti-American perspective on virtually every racial and political issue is apparent to all paying attention. This should not surprise readers of this newspaper. The left-wing mass media has a long track record of inciting and justifying the sort of destructive criminal behavior Americans have seen so vividly in recent months. Police officers operate in extremely hostile and dangerous environments, often interacting with violent criminals who are encouraged to flout and disrespect the law, and those tasked with enforcing it have been transmogrified into brutally evil racist monsters who systematically target and hunt down blacks in America's major cities simply for the sport of it. In reality, African Americans commit the vast majority of violent crime and often resist arrest or otherwise refuse to cooperate with law enforcement officers trying to do their jobs. This disrespectful and dangerous mindset has for decades been fostered, encouraged, and justified by the mass media. So-called hate crimes committed by whites against minorities, even when they are later demonstrated to have been entirely staged or faked, are reported and hyped to the extreme, generating outrage and anger, which often turns violent and destructive. You gotta always beware of the playbook by Edward Bernays. Propaganda. I encourage everyone to read it. Just this week, for example, NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace, one of the few blacks involved with the sport, was told a noose was hung in his garage at the iconic Talladega Speedway, with implication repeated by Wallace and the media that a racist NASCAR driver or employee hung it there on purpose in order to intimidate him. The FBI quickly dedicated 15 agents to investigate. Okay, hold on. To investigate. Alright, sorry about that. To investigate the purported hate crime, they soon discovered the noose was, in fact, a rope used to open and shut the garage door and has been situated in this particular garage since at least a year, thoroughly debunking the hate crime allegation. Nevertheless, the emotionally charged spectacle was promoted to the masses, further instilling an outrageous and entirely dishonest narrative about black victimization and oppression, systemic white supremacy and racism, and other manufactured Marxist talking points. Worse, the media never corrected the fallacious reporting. Okay, yeah, that is true, folks. That is true. So you got to always look at the bigger picture here, right? Journalists, reporters, and average Americans speaking out publicly against dishonest and biased narratives endlessly decimated by the mass media, are not only being publicly ashamed and demonized, they are being purged from their jobs and positions in society. The cultural Bolshevik revolution sweeping this nation is intent on tearing down any symbol or standard of traditional America while systematically eliminating any form of opposition or even criticism of this destructive agenda, and the leftist media are they're willing accomplices. And you're damn straight on that. They don't want you to call out people like Bruce Wallace or criticizing the actions of individuals like George Floyd. Okay? He has a rough past, but they try to suppress everybody in one area. Just all wound up, bent out of shape, social engineering 101. A lot of folks out there haven't learned the damn lessons of Charlottesville. Social engineers' finest, designed to break havoc. It was doomed to fail from the very beginning. And it doesn't take a racist or white supremacist to figure that one out. Okay, I'm just being, sarcastic. Or even a liberty-minded individual, too. It's just the damn truth. Doesn't matter. Okay? And people try to shun me or scorn me for it, and later on they're like, holy crap. So always got to think ahead, further, examine everything. Because the clowns in the garbage media don't want you to know that. Because they're a bunch of ingrates. Yes, people. They will go on their hands and knees and do sexual desires, symbolically speaking, to get their job or their promotions. Always contemplate yourselves. Don't get caught in the hook, line, and sinker. That has been a problem with the world. Like I see folks out here with Black Lives Matter signs, and they're like doing the same old chant. Come on. Be more creative than that. It's why I never get inspired by these particular organizations. Unimpressive indeed. So let me see what we got here next. Ooh. All right. Oh, this is an interesting little personal editorial. Personal message from the editor. Is this the America our founders dreamed of? Have you opened a newspaper or turned on the radio or television news recently and questioned whether you're living in an alternate reality where anarchy prevails, laws no longer exist, and reasons and facts don't matter? For the past few years, we certainly have, and it's getting worse. Yes, bizarre world indeed, right? Here are recent examples of this alarming trend whereby radically leftists are advancing an agenda that runs counter to what the majority of Americans people believe. Fact. An overwhelming majority of Americans believe the military should be called in to restore order in cities that have been plagued by violent riots and looting. And it says here what is actually happening. Mayors and governors in major cities and states are telling police and National Guard to stand down while the same protesters who vandalize and destroy public property are taking over public buildings and are being allowed to create autonomous zones that bar law enforcement and other elected appointed officials from entering. Fact, the majority of Americans believe monuments to prominent figures in American history, including Confederate soldiers, officers, should remain in place until voters decide their fate. What is actually happening? Officials in major cities are allowing radical leftist protesters to destroy monuments to major figures in this country's history with no repercussions. Fact. Humans are dimorphic, meaning we are made up of males who are physically larger and produce sperm, and are females who are physically smaller and produce eggs. What is actually happening? Congress and state legislators are currently mulling new laws that state biological sex is a social construct, and that a man who calls himself a woman is legally a woman, who calls herself a man is legally a man. Okay? Talking about Twilight Zone? Yeah, let's sink in. Fact, violence in America is at historic lows, and is so largely isolated to select urban areas, and the majority of Americans of all races and creeds will end up dying peacefully of old age. What is actually happening? Leftists are protesting across the country, claiming that huge numbers of unarmed black Americans are being gunned down in the street by triggered-happy police officers protecting an inherently racist society. Okay? Hold on here. Here's another one. Here's another fact. The United States has never been more generous to the poor and disenfranchised, offering, among other things, free education, free food, free Medicare, public transportation, and even special housing loans that are backed by the government. What is actually happening? Radicals in the government and the media claim that the entire U.S. system is systematically racist, and select people are denied opportunity because of their skin color. The United States accepts more immigrants than almost all other countries in the world. This is what these clowns have to say. What is actually happening? Prominent U.S. officials, including presidential candidates, claim U.S. immigration policies are racist, and anyone from poor and underdeveloped countries should be allowed to cross the border without punishment. We can go on, but this is current narrative we're facing. What is actually happening before our eyes defies all reason, and woe to anyone who disagrees, for they will be shamed publicly and will likely even lose their job, simply because they had the nerve to speak up and question the shill cries. There was once a time when even Democrats agreed with that. Facts are important. We are reminded of the late New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan's famous maxim, everyone is entitled to his own opinion, but not his own facts. Today, however, we have presidential candidates like Elizabeth Warren who have joined hordes to feel it is more important to put their preferred pronouns, she and her, in their online biographies and email signatures, just so we're all clear they identify as women. One of the craziest demands of late, which we have covered at length in recent issues of AFP, is to defund local police. Claimed that cops are so racist, so violent, so trigger-happy that the country needs to just do away with them and instead hire social workers and therapists to talk violent criminals out of committing murders, rapes, and robberies. This has been tested in new autonomous zones. They have been popping up in major cities like Seattle, Portland, and even Washington, D.C., which they want to be the 51st state, totally illegal. Could anyone even pretend to be surprised when shortly after anarchists created their autonomous zones in downtown Seattle and forbade cops or any other official from entering? They were 4 back-to-back shootings. Sadly, a 19-year-old man bled out on the street because EMTs refused to enter the area for their own safety until police could secure it. Unfortunately, by the time police had moved in, it was too late. The young man had died. There is a place for social workers, however, where they can actually help. American Free Press. At American Free Press, we have vowed to never be cowed by these extremists who want to dictate the conversation today. We will continue to speak out and tell the truth despite the fact that it has hurt us financially. Check our important articles in this week's issue, where we speak the truth into power. This isn't just a battle between conservatives and liberals, traditionalists versus modernists. It is a fight over facts versus very dangerous opinions that seek to destroy what has made this country great. And that is why it is so important to support AFP. What other options do we have? That was by Christopher J. Petherick, executive editor. One good thing about this paper is they're populist and independent, not Republican or Democrat. So it's always good to know. I encourage people to hit their site, and I'll give you the website, and you could do your own thing. You could subscribe. You tell them, look, the third sent you. So it's good stuff here, and I'm gonna be just to let you folks know that exactly. I forgot to tell you about this a while back, but we are sad to report that celebrated political artist and cartoonist David Dees passed away on May 31st after a long battle with cancer. Dees' satirical cartoons are well known to readers of AFP, have been featured throughout our issues over the years, including on many front pages. On March 9th, Dees told his followers that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma cancer, and it was declining orthodox treatment. At right is one of David's last political illustrations. More can be seen at Renz.com of the popular alternative news site Jeff Renz. Yeah, that was very disheartening indeed. So I'll just go a few more here. And this is right here, yeah. Democrats honor slave traders. Democrat members of Congress on June 8th in one of the most appalling displays of virtue signaling so far in this heated political climate took a knee at the Emancipation Hall in Washington, D.C. to memorialize the blacks killed by police in the past few years. Others, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senator Chuck Schumer, the Huey and Dewey, wrapped colorful African scarves around their necks in a supposed show of solidarity. As Pelosi read the names of unarmed blacks who had died at the hands of police, the only problem, there was a so-called kente cloth the legislator wore are known to have been donned by tribes that integrally involved in the slave trade in West Africa. A historical fact that most radical leftists are ignorant of. African slave traders regularly raided smaller tribes, kidnapping men, women, and children who were then sold to Arabs and Europeans. Oh, man, I'll do one more here. Sometimes I get a big kick out of these people. So let's just see what it says here. News and commentary website is back in Minneapolis. News and commentary website Alpha News reported on June 16th that a recent analysis of the real estate market in Minneapolis shows a quarter of the homes for sale and 43% of the apartments for rent were put on the market following the violent rioting that began in the city earlier in June. Reported Alpha News, it appears that residents of Minneapolis are looking to leave their city amidst a wave of unrest and a campaign led by a progressive city council to abolish its own police force. About 22% of the 612 homes listed for sale in Minneapolis on the website Zillow, who were posted, where within the last 2 weeks, a staggering 43% of the 740 apartments for rent listed in Zillow hit the site since the riots began. Well. Wow, so interesting there. So I'm gonna let me see here now. Oh yeah. So let me see what I'm gonna see to get my hands on. Yeah, let's talk about the global elite. The right's version of the CFR, secretive ultra-conservative think tanks, wields immense influence on GOP. This is by Donald Jeffries. What do you have to say about this? We're all aware of the power that the shadowy, powerful Council on Foreign Relations wields, the CFR. Most cabinet members in every administration, Democratic or Republican, come from the CFR to do as a good number of politicians, journalists, and celebrities. The Council for National Policy is not so well known. The CNP was founded in 1981 by fundamentalist preacher and author Tim LaHaye, who died in 2016, as a conservative counterpoint to CFR. LaHaye was not Pat Buchanan or Ron Paul supporter. He was named co-chair of neocon Jack Kemp's 1988 presidential campaign and would later be employed by Reverend Sung Myung Moon's Coalition for Religious Freedom. Mimicking the secret nature of the CFR, the New York Times quoted the group as maintaining the media should not know when or where we meet or who takes in part in our programs. Before or after a meeting, Salt Lake Tribune would later report members are told not to discuss the group, reveals the topics discussed in the closed-door meetings, or even say whether or not they are members of the organization. And that's what else he has to say here. The membership roster in the CNP is filled with establishment conservatives and arch Zionists, the kinds of people who subvert our foreign policy toward Israeli interests, and whose political and cultural naivety earned the Republicans the derisive sobriquet, the Stupid Party. Powerful lobbyist, convicted felon Jack Abramoff, former Attorney General John Ashcroft, Brent Basil of the Media Research Center, Jeffrey and Joseph Coors of the Beer Dynasty, former House Speaker Tom DeLay, Amway founder and NBA owner Richard DeVos. Is interesting about the whole Amway thing. So yeah, it's very interesting. Another like global institution, right? Oh yeah, man. I'm gonna go on here. I'm enjoying this stuff. Oil magnate and NFL owner Nelson Bunker Hunt, the former presidential candidate Alan Keyes, former Senator Trent Lott, Reverend Sun Myung Moon, Oliver North, Pat Robertson, Bush flunky John Sununu, and entertainer Pat Boone are among some of their past and present luminaries. Interesting, Alan Keyes. Former presidential candidate Rick Santorum, former Department of Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff, what do you mean son of the devil in Russian, psychotic bully warmonger John Bolton, Dick Cheney, and Mitt Romney have been featured guest speakers at CNP meetings, which are held 3 times a year. Okay. Funding for the groups has come from the likes of the Koch brothers and Adolph Kors Foundation, former Trump staffer Kellyanne Conway and Steve Bannon were members of the CNP, despite the fact one of the group's affiliates, Conservatives of Faith, had participated in the March 2016 meeting to dump Trump as a Republican Party presidential nominee. CNP officially endorsed Ted Cruz, who Trump duped Lion Ted during the 2016 primaries. And remember this, folks, he was born in Canada. And he comes up with natural-born citizen because his mom was an American. I called him Nolan Boyd Cruz. That's right. So anyone that supported him as president, don't like what I say, prove me wrong, please. Warmonger extraordinaire and one-time vocal never-Trumper Nikki Haley, who nevertheless was appointed by Trump as the United Nations ambassador, made her last major speech before the CNP before resigning her post in late 2018. Although the speech wasn't recorded and there was no transcript in the customary manner of the group, a journalist who was there claimed Haley's comments poked fun at Donald Trump's foibles and instability, telling Haley admitted that she sought out Deep State Hall of Famer Harry Kissinger as her personal foreign policy mentor. Yep, birds of feather flock together. She is one Aunt Jemima bend over Barbie to the New World Order. Thank you there, Miss Haley. She also revealed that Trump had initially offered her position as Secretary of State, which she declined. Well, wise choice for a scum queen, right? The long parade of predictable neocon Zionists. Addressing the organization was also included in presidential aspirant George W. Bush in 1999, and President Trump himself spoke before the CNP in 2015. Former prosecutor Ken Starr appeared before the group of Hawk, his memoir of the whitewash investigation he led into Bill Clinton's litany of criminal corruption. Trump's Supreme Court selection, Brett Kavanaugh, led the cover-up of Vince Foster's death for Starr. Well. How come the Senate, guys like Cory Booker, don't want to talk about that? That's a bigger picture there, folks, okay? So, but they want to do the sexual harassment thing, disrespecting women. That's more important. The cover-up, and the whole charade. Come on, grow up. There have been decent people associated with the CFR. They include Project Forteus, James O'Keefe, and Rand Paul. Interesting. All right, both have spoken before the CNP, but the membership is dominated by Rhino faithful. And guest speaker are too often those just as responsible for the disastrous condition of the country as their Democratic Party peers, such as George W. Santorum, and vicious wrongmongers like Bolton, Cheney, and Lindsey Graham. The CNP appears like the Republican Party hierarchy to believe that the alternative to the virtual signaling Democrats is to promote more tax cuts for the wealthy, unquestionably support mergers, unbridled immigration, foreign visa workers, and unlimited military intervention on behalf of Israel. Investigative journalist John Brinson, who has extremely researched the CNP, told his author around half of the members of the Project of the New American Century were members of the Council for National Policy at the time around September 9/11. The other half naturally belonged to the CFR. CNP founding member Woody Jenkins once said to the press, "I predict one day before the end of the century, the CNP will be so influential that no president, regardless of party or philosophy, will be able to ignore us or our concerns." Yeah, look at that. More contamination, right? Absolutely. So, let me see what I can hit here. I'm just browsing through. And, I might do that. You know what? This one here about police reform. I think this is pretty essential here. Okay. This one here came from S.T. Patrick. Healing Before Handcuffs. How to Improve the System Without Abolishing the Police. So, I do support police reform in a lot of areas myself. I talked about it on my past shows. But let's see what Mr. Patrick has to say. When a hyper-political society goes binary, meaning that everything is a zero or a one, with monovulnerability in between, resolutions to the most pressing societal problems aren't allowed to be anything but extreme. Neither end of the spectrum wants to give in. This is the case with the recent debate over defunding the police. With screwed up there. Oh, hold on there, folks. Sorry about that. Oh, where are you? Two teams have broken down into distinct yet extreme positions. One which lauds every police officer as a hero fighting to protect the children and the elderly, and the other which would like to end the entire practice of policing as it exists in America. Yet there's ways to rationally improve the practice of policing in America while still maintaining and valuing the good officers doing good work. Defunding is a valid political strategy when up against a massive program that cannot itself be defeated or end easily. The way to render it flawless is to take away its life's blood, financing. When candidate Donald Trump came out against Obamacare, he threatened to defund it, and it could not be eradicated. Without money, any government program is lifeless. Before defunding police departments out of anger becomes a reality, each society should look at the purpose of police in the areas in which a properly functioning police department could be made better and more accountable. A police department, in the words of almost every department in America, is designed to protect and serve. With those words can be debated, but it would be hard to defend any notion that protecting and serving the public means setting up covert speed traps to catch a driver going 38 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, executing a mandatory lockup on every domestic call, law in some states, or killing people even in a small town that likes to have a personal relationship with every officer. Are gone are the men and women in uniform who walk the beat and know every kid in the neighborhood by their first name. In their place are militarized SWAT-trained police officers who are armed with pepper spray, tasers, and many times with a strong superiority complex that demands that even the victims of a minor traffic stop genuflect to the badge. They are busting in front doors. There are no-knock warrants, including the wrong doors. Police officers in many towns and cities across the country are no longer public servants whom you can admire. They are authority figures to be feared and obey. One problem is that the qualifications for becoming a police or corrections officer have changed. The Obama administration itself recommended lowering the qualifications for becoming a police officer. In Florida, someone need only a high school education to become a corrections officer. In many cases, inmates are more educated and socially literate than the officers who are tasked with forcing behavioral compliance. When an officer doesn't have more interpersonal or social training than the average person they encounter, dangerous situations can arise. When that happens, and the officer is largely unprepared or untrained, the public is at risk. The modern police officer described above is doing no society any good. And there are better ways that don't have to involve the entire department being shuttered. Imagine there were a society that really cared about the struggling residents. And the truest Christian ethnic society believe that it is the biggest obligation toward those who fall from the straight and narrow path is not punishment and incarceration, but rehabilitation, healing, and health. If that were the case, police officers will no longer need to be the first call when an addict has fallen in the streets, when a homeless woman is sleeping under a tree on private property, or when a married couple has an argument so loud it concerns neighbors. If a society could find a way to place healing before handcuffs, the police department wouldn't always have to be the first, second, or third call. The police would be on the fourth call when all other avenues have been exhausted. If police were the fourth call, they could then be funded as if they were the fourth option, and the vast majority of the funds available could go to the first three options. It isn't the funding as much as it prioritizing the society's goal for its wayward residents would be. But those who are handcuffed, jailed, and cycled through the system of inhumane incarceration aren't healed. They are devastated, as are their families, and demoralized only to be released back into society again as an even more damaged individual. What has this cycle accomplished other than creating the more incarcerated nation on earth? It seems ludicrous to simply disband and defund completely those well-intentioned officers who do all they can do to make their city, county, or state a better place. Yet something must be done about the sociopaths who are behind their power as an authority, prioritizing and redirecting these interactions between public servants and the city's most lost soul could be the one saving grace upon which both sides can agree. And this is why, folks, it's just a shame, because a lot of areas could be handled internally, okay? But a lot of folks out there will call the police first. And remember, they're human beings too. Okay, I mingle with a lot of officers. They show me some of your cue cards. And that's like I said in the past, I have my battles with some of them, but it's always been on principle. Always with the human element. And of course, the militarization, federal subsidies, all that, Homeland Security, I'm not really pleased. So this is why I support ending the drug war. Okay, asset forfeiture, innocent to proven innocent. You're guilty to proven innocent. Okay, it's like a very prejudicial move. I'm totally against that crap. Totally against it. Thievery. That's why the whole qualified immunity thing needs to be debacle. They have to have it's got to be exemptions. You go by the book. If not, you're not qualified. Everyone goes one way or the other. Doesn't work that way. Not in a rational perspective. So that's how I look at these areas. And hey, this is one of those things. Yes, I want to see what else I'm going to hit here. I'm going to ignore that. Oh, interesting. Cultural Bolshevism. Yeah, as I say, Black Lives Matter is a mistake. Focus on race, not class. I think I made this, it'll be the last one we'll be talking about in this article. What does Donald Jeffries have to say? Black Lives Matter has seemingly become the most powerful organization in American culture. People have lost their jobs simply for making critical remarks about them on social media. Responding to their name with the logical counter, All Lives Matter, has resulted in job dismissals, as well as along with being instantly branded as a racist. Yeah, sounds like the new Ku Klux Klan, right? It is instructive to look at a list of demands recently presented by BLM-centric so-called CHOP, Capitol Hill Occupy protest group, which has been allowed to take over 6 blocks downtown Seattle. One moment here. It's gonna. Of course, yeah. We demand the city council and mayor. Hold on here. Without any resistance from authorities. Okay, so 6 blocks downtown Seattle, Washington, without any resistance from authorities. We demand that the city council and city mayor, whoever may be, implemented these political policy changes for the cultural and historic advancement of the city of Seattle, and to ease the struggles to its people. The screed notes this document is to represent the black voices who spoke in victory at the top of the 12th and pine after 9 days of peaceful protest while under constant nightly attack from the Seattle Police Department. The first demand is abolition, not reform, of the Seattle Police Department, including pension for retired officers, as well as the attached criminal justice apparatus. They also demand to end to ICE and to halt to the enforcement of immigration policies. Yes, pro-Club of Rome for sure. Another is for a ban on these use of armed forces, including batons and riot shields. They go for full-scale investigation into past and current cases of police brutality in Seattle and Washington. They demand reparation for victims of police brutality in a form to be determined. The most outstanding demand is for the retrial of all people of color currently serving prison sentence for violent crime by a jury of their peers in their community. There are demands for release of all protesters who have been arrested and a general amnesty for anything they might have done, along with decriminalization of the acts of protest for current prisoners and convicted felons to be granted full voting rights. Free college for all residents of the Washington state. A call for segregated medical services with black doctors and nurses only serving black patients. That history, so right there, BLM is pro-Jim Crow. Black Lives Matter loves Jim Crow laws. Okay? Right there. Bam. All right, I will continue on. That black and Native Americans can be given a significantly greater focus in the Washington state education curriculum and the removal of any and all monuments dedicated to historical figures of the Confederacy. And they don't even have a damn clue about why these statues, generals from the Confederacy, the reason why they seceded. They assume it's slavery only. Please. In fairness, a few of the BLM demands are reasonable, even necessary. They call for an end to the disastrous school-to-prison pipeline that results from the over-police presence in all schools, something this author detailed in my book, Bullyocracy. Their demand for the federal government to investigate past and current cases of police brutality is complicated but valid. Much of the anger toward the police is due to the undeniable fact that white and black officers who abuse their authority have very seldom been held accountable by their superiors, which is true. I won't argue with that. Their demand that all those serving time for marijuana-related offenses be released is something many people might agree with. Yeah, no victim, no crime. Their opposition to prosecutorial immunity for police officers and end to private prisons both make sense. They even touch on the odious asset forfeiture laws by demanding a return of all personal property from the city's lost and found department. The problem is that their demands are centered around race, not justice. That's true. There is an unmistakable prejudice against whites in everything they say and do. Black Lives Matter, according to its own website, emulates Hillary Clinton. It takes a village mindset proclaimed. We disrupt Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children. While BLM certainly is intolerant of whites, that they are very welcoming to transgenders. All right? Declaring that they are a queer-affirming network. BLM notes, we are self-reflexive and do the work required to dismantle cisgender privilege and uplift black trans folks, especially black trans women who continue to disproportionately impact by transgnostic violence. Transagnostic violence. Wow. The language on the website sounds innocuous and uplifting to some. In reality, a great deal of violence is being done in their name. There have been several recent incidents of whites being targeted and beaten severely by gangs of blacks who shouted Black Lives Matter during the assaults. In one case, a young man was visually attacked when he caught a group of blacks who cut in front of him in a line at a convenience store. We have also seen videos of elderly whites being cold-cocked while simply traveling on the sidewalk. If Black Lives Matter is simply focused on class and not race, many poor and working class people of all races would support them. Protesting non-sensual, undefiable white supremacy and white privilege instead of a rigged system that keeps 80% of America's merged and economic instability ensures more division instead of reform. That seems to be the goal of those pulling BLM strings. Well, you're right. This is why I was never, ever been impressed by this particular organization. Why? Because it's called the truth. And you always got to look at those areas, folks. And I've been doing this for a long time, so this is why I'm always been observant, look at everything, and try to see things a lot bigger than what it is. I cannot support an organization that is technocratically funded. They're not organic. They're fakes. And I treat them like any other subversive group, regardless of what they look like. And I've done it multiple times, even in activism. This group here is unacceptable in good faith. There's some good people that march forward with them, but they're being played like many others. Friends don't let friends succumb to the New World Order coup. Remember, they're Marxist, pawned by technocrats, technocratically funded. Bunch of names, all you gotta do is look it up. It's really self-explanatory. And that will be it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something that's interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to Decorum. I will leave the articles I read on my Spreaker page. They're all subscription only right now. And I'll leave the website, AmericanFreePress.net. I encourage people to subscribe to them, donate. They need your support. And if you want to send donations to me, you can hit me at paypal.me/Loki Luck number 3. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.